So want to welcome our audience here tonight on Trosky Tuesday. Another great week. Had a great week last week and very excited about the show tonight. Of course, I'm Trent Mongero. We have Nate Trosky on the line, and we're going to cover a really important topic tonight. We're really going to get into the 10 laws of the sixth tool and start to define what a championship process really looks like. But before we even get there, there's a few updates I'd like to give. And Nate, I really need you to try to, be concise with this, but can you give us an update real quick on the status of the virtual camp as best you know right now? Just help update the audience to what we're doing.
Sure. So we have a virtual camp that's going to be coming up here. We pushed the date back just a few days. We're going to go for the 27th of May. And the virtual camp basically it's a 3-hour camp, and it's taking infield play, giving you guys an opportunity to not only work on skills, because we have a lot of tweets that we send out, and we have stuff on YouTube, and we have videos, and we have the blue collar lockdown and the footwork master. We have all these different pieces to developing as an infielder, but that's just a piece of the equation. The video footage is a nice piece, but having us behind it, the coaches that have developed it, we're going to take the details, the specifics. We call it precise engineering. You take a Ford versus an Audi or a Mercedes or a Ferrari, and there's a level of engineering. And so we're looking for precision. So when we work on the drills, we're going to go from basically just from ground up, and we're going to work on footwork, foot speed, glove work, arm action. We're going to work on everything, the same stuff that we work with professionals, but we're going to give you very simplistic ways to do it at home. So there's going to be movement. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be baseball IQ sections that are going to be building your IQ as a baseball player or softball player, mental game. Everything's going to be focused, and it's basically the highest level of information. But the beauty of it is that the highest level of information basically is simplistic. And, Trent, we've been doing infield work for over 30 years, and it's taken us a long time to find out really what is the main thing. What do you keep simple? What really is the right information? And with the limited amount of time, because we don't have enough time as coaches, players, parents, there's not enough. And what happens is we spend a lot of time developing what doesn't need to be developed, and we don't spend enough time focusing on the main thing. So we're going to focus on the main thing, the principles, the focus, all the key elements to being a master infielder. We're breaking it down from the mental game to the baseball IQ, to foot speed, to all, we're going to cover it, and we're going to do it right there in their own home. So there's going to be 3 weeks. They can sign up week to week, and it's just an opportunity really to take your game to a whole nother level. And it's information that you can't get just out going to a high school practice or going to a travel ball practice. It doesn't exist. The information that we're sharing, it's not out there. So we're covering it all. We're excited about giving you an opportunity. And this isn't just for for players that aren't very good. This is for players that are learning. This is for the elite of the elite. Both of our sons are Division I shortstops, and, they're going to get a lot better. And a lot of this process, as you know, is just reminding yourself of what matters, keeping you focused, keeping you on track, keeping the main thing. So for elite players, you're going to get better. You need to develop your IQ, your mental game. The whole game needs to get better on all players, even guys in the minor leagues. Big leaguers are trying to get better. So it's an exciting package for everybody of all ages, all levels, all parents, all coaches of all levels. And we're excited to bring this to you.
Awesome. Great summary. I'm unbelievably excited. Just really can't wait. It's going to be a one-of-a-kind experience. So getting back, to the topic tonight, because I know a lot of people are likely on board, and I know I'm really excited to hear what you have to say and maybe add some to it. But before we do, we've developed some relationships over the years, and really, I think people ought to know, guys like Alan Yeager with Yeager Sports and Steve Springer with Quality at Bats. I mean, these guys are top-notch, not only top-notch individuals, but top-notch baseball guys with top-notch baseball information. And we just want to recognize our partnership with them through Trosky Ranch, as we move forward tonight. So we'd be amiss not to share that. But what I want to get to first, Nate, the first question I have, a lot of people don't know when we talk about this sixth tool. They really don't. They've heard us say it. They've heard bits and pieces. And I really don't want you to dwell so much on the sixth tool. But, you've come up with these 10 laws of the sixth tool. And, you know, the first one is process, you know, the importance of process as law number one. And so before we even get into process, can you talk a little bit about what these 10 laws, how they came about and why they're important as we venture into the first one tonight?
Right. Trent, it's come about because I've lived this baseball experience for the last 35 years, really completely dedicated to learning from the best, being around the best, seeing what the best do. And also not just the best, but also players that aren't very good, working with, you know, little leaguers, kids that are learning. So I've had a full gamut of really watching this game develop from the full spectrum, from youth players trying to learn to play, from working with, in the last 7 years, I've coached 70 major leaguers just with the area codes alone. There were 70 from the last 7 years. So I've coached with guys like Christian Yelich, but I've also coached the little leaguer down the street. You can't play catch, he doesn't know how to hit. So you see this, you know, it's basically a puzzle that I've been able to put together over the years. And it's just been it's been a journey, it's been a study. And one thing that I noticed is that the world basically is filled with people with unfulfilled dreams. And that's a problem. And I'm one of those players. And so are you. When you think of reaching your ceiling, when you think of becoming all that you wanted to become. So I'll ask you, did you become all that you could become as a player? Did you reach your full ceiling?
No. I wanted to play in the major leagues, so no.
For over 10 years, right? You want it to be your career.
Yeah, long-time veteran, yes.
Now, talent-wise, I would say that a large percentage of the population is not lacking talent in many areas. I mean, there's talent missing. Of course, not everybody's a major league talent. But if my goal is to become a Division I player, and I end up, you know, going 2 years to an NAI, and then I decide to quit. Well, I didn't fulfill my dream. And there's nothing wrong with playing small college baseball or not becoming a big leaguer, but that's not the point. The point is do you reach your ceiling? Do you reach your ceiling? And most players, if not all, I'm talking over 90%. When you ask them, did you reach your ceiling? Was there things you would do different when you go back and do it again? Would you do things different? And they would say, of course, I did not give myself the opportunity to reach my ceiling and to reach my goals and dreams. So seeing it over the years, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of players. I'm talking hundreds, thousands. You see them all. And you see them when they're 35, 45, 55. And they're like, you know, I just wish I would have known this. I wish I could go back and do it again. Well, the point is you can't go back and do it again. There's no do-overs. There's no second chances. There's no restart buttons. Guys, this is one area in your life that you don't get to do it over again. There's no do-overs. You can get a second career. You can get a fifth career. You can get a 20th career. You can start your career over and over and over. You can go back to college 15 times and get 27 degrees, but you could never go back to high school. You can never play college baseball ever again. And once you sign, your window is small because we're looking for players that are young and athletic and talented. No one's interested in a 28-year-old minor leaguer who's been in AAA like Springer. That's his story. I was good enough, but it was too late. The time is now. I was talking to a dad just about an hour ago, and he said, you know, we want to play on your national team this summer, but we're just going to take it easy, because he's in 8th grade. And he goes, we're going to do one of the tournaments with you guys. Just want to get his feet wet. I said, let me tell you something. If you want help in this process, okay, I'll help you, but your perspective is not going to work. You don't just try to get your feet wet. Okay, you got this tiny window, and this window is it's gonna close. It's closing really fast. And the people in our society, in our culture, in our baseball community, they don't understand really what a championship process is. And if you asked a coach, you've been coaching, you were high school coach of the year, #1 coach in the nation. You won a championship. Was that a national championship, state championship? What do you call it? State championships?
State, yeah, state championship.
State champ. Well, how many coaches actually? Their goal is to get after it and win a championship. And how many coaches actually win a state championship or a national championship? It is so rare. And the reason is, it's because they don't understand there is a process. There's a process to become a champion. And if you don't own that process, you don't get what you want. I want this. You're not going to get it because you don't have the process. You have to be aligned. So I said, over these years, I'm going, gosh, man, all these people, they have this dream, but they're not on the road less traveled, because the road less traveled actually leads to where they want to go, but they're on the road most traveled, and they're just traveling, and they're trying to get everything they want that they can get I want to have fun here. I want to do this. I want to do that, but I don't want to have self-discipline, self-sacrifice in these areas of my life because they just don't get it. And there's not enough people to follow. So what we do is we conform to the masses, which it's about 98%. 98% are going nowhere. They're just floating. I'm talking about reaching your dreams in baseball. I'm not talking about getting a college degree because 98% do have a college degree. You know, everybody that pretty much, you know, wants a college degree, they go get one. So we're talking about reaching your ceiling in baseball, So how do you do it? So I said, you know, we need to come up with ways to develop a process to help players and coaches. And I'll give you one simple example. I do college showcases. We have thousands of coaches that have worked for me over the last 10 years that they work for me at my camp. So I have time, I spend time with them. I had somebody on the bottom of my program for it was like my 5th year. And I said, I'm just going to put a little piece on the bottom of my program. It said 1 + 1 = 4. And the coaches it's the roster book, and they were looking at that and they said, Nate, what is that? There's 30 guys per camp, college coaches, Trent, at each camp. Okay, 20 to 30 college coaches hired. There wasn't one guy in the whole year that knew what that equation meant. And I said, if you don't know what that equation means, you're a loser. You will not win. You can't, because synergy is the most powerful force to winning. And when we work together, 1 + 1 = 4, it doesn't equal 2. And what they work on, most coaches, probably 98%, I'm going to throw the 98 out there. Okay, they're working on technique, launch angles, right? They're working on all the X's and O's, and they don't understand if you don't have synergy, because there's more power in synergy than anything in the game. Working together. If you don't make that your number one priority, you can't be a champion. You can't. That's what champions do. They build synergy, and you take average players and they become great. You take great players and become the greatest. This is hundreds and hundreds, and not one guy even knew. That is one of the most key elements to the process to being a championship coach. And these guys are going, what's 1 + 1 = 4? I said, you never heard of synergy? They're like, no, what's synergy? I said, you got no shot. Really, you got no shot. You guys are going to finish 5th place again, like you always do. You'll probably be runner-up in your league. You guys haven't won a national championship, and neither of you, and you never have, and you probably never will, because you don't understand there is an actual process. There is a process. So I spent 30 years trying to find the process, Trent. I'm going, what is the process? What are the trails that the champions leave behind? Then you have to have, once you find it, you have to be disciplined enough, right? I have to have the self-discipline now to learn it and then own it. And I have to execute it one day at a time. And that's a whole nother level, because that is the 6th tool. The second component of the 6th tool is self-discipline. First is self-motivation. Self-motivation, what do I do when I don't feel like it? My ability to execute day in and day out. Big league career, big league season. Hank Aaron, over 1,000, he played almost 2,000 games. In the average season, there's 162, right? The typical season, unless you get to the playoffs, right? It is it's a daily task, and you have to own it every day. So there's all these components that come in. Now, if we actually teach it, we give someone an opportunity to make a choice. But we never even give people an opportunity to make a choice, because they don't even know what a great process is. And if you don't know what a championship process is, you can't ever be a champion. Or you might get lucky one time, but you'll never repeat. No shot. So it's really about giving people an opportunity to make a choice and say, here's a choice. Take it or leave it. You want to reach your ceiling, and people actually start owning it. And I've seen it right in front of my eyes, and I've seen guys do the most amazing things. And I can give you several examples of some guys that, you know, that right in front of my face was just like, I mean, just boom. And it's pretty special stories, but I don't know if you want to comment on that, but it's really creating that path so people can take a choice to say, you know, I want to get on the road less traveled. I want to travel that road.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of like really good points so far. I want to try to hone in a little bit and really try to see where we can take this, because it is so vital. And, you know, like to me, the 6th tool, character makeup, because when you get to a high level baseball, you're going to run across people who have tools just like you have. They're, you know, it's a fraction, it's a hair thin difference in you and other guys in the physical tools, and that mental makeup up allows you to be better, you know, to be better and to win spots and to advance in the game and so forth. And really, like, you know, we hear, okay, Nate, so everybody hears process. It's a buzzword. We hear process, you know, stick to the process, get back to the process, you know, everything's process. And yes, the process is important, but I want to ask you right now, like, talk a little bit more specifically about what a championship, maybe like, so routines are part of your process. So like, to me, you know, goals are part of you know, establishing goals, which allow you to align to a process, you know, routines, which are aligning you to a process, you know, to your goals. So, I mean, it's, we could go on like all these rabbit trails, but I want to try to hone in a little bit more on what does a championship process look like? A champion, when you think of the best in the world, okay, and the stories that you have, help our audience understand what a championship process entails, and then I'll add in.
Okay, so what I'd like to first do is just define law number one, the law of the process. So we're going to be sharing with you guys the 10 laws. We have a little booklet. It's an ebook. It's pretty awesome. It's for players, parents, and coaches. It's called the 10 Laws of the Six Tool. And there's going to be a total of 50. And most of them are already written, but we're going to do one volume at a time, 10 at a time. And it's to give people time to really learn the 10 and then memorize the 10 and then own the 10. So they become a part of their life. And it's going to take some time because there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made in people's lives so that they can have, you know, an opportunity to get better. As we know, we're creatures of habit. So the first law, the law of the process, very simple. And they're all very simple. They're poignant. They're focused. There's a process to anything and everything. There's a process to anything and everything. No matter what. It doesn't matter if you want to keep your car clean, if you want to have a really nice car, right? If you want to have good teeth, if you want your house to be clean, there's a process, right? There's a process to anything and everything. There's a process to succeed. In order to succeed in a specific area, so one, you have to identify the area you want to be great in. I want my house to be immaculate, right? I want my kids to be really disciplined. Well, you have to learn that process. You can't just try to figure it out as you go. You can't be half-hearted. So whatever area you want to be good in, whatever that area is, there is a specific process. So the secret is this: you first have to find that process, then you have to learn it, then you have to own it one day at a time. So I'm going to go through the definition without breaking. I'm going to be very simple. To anything and everything, there's a process to succeed. In order to succeed in a specific area, you must find, learn, and own that process one day at a time. Now, there's different levels of processes because everybody's like, yeah, trust the process, own the process. I got a process. Well, the question is how great is your process? Because great players, when you talk about elite players, they have an elite process. And we'll talk about it specifically in a little bit. But first, we have to identify that in order to be great, you have to have a great process. You can't just have a process. If I want to be a great guitar player and I want to play in a symphony and I want to be maybe make my living in a symphony, I must have a great process to be the best at what I do. And if I don't have a great process, I could practice for 20 years and I'll never reach my goals, even though I have a process. It's not about having a process. It's about having a great process. And we're going to talk about the specific qualities of a great process. Now, the greater the process, the greater the goal. So now if I want to have a great process because I want to do great things, it all begins with a great goal. And if I have very average goals, you will never have a great process because the focus of the great process comes from having great goals. Royce Lewis played on our area code teams for 2 years. And Royce was a good player. He was very interesting. And every year I watched Royce get better. He took his throw tool from an average arm to a plus major league arm. He did that in a year and a half. All of his tools. He was very interesting, but he was not the best player in the country. By the time he finishes his senior year, he is the #1 player in America. He was drafted first round, first pick in the 2017 draft by the Minnesota Twins. He became the best player in the country. Now, when you watched Royce play catch, When you watch Royce stretch, everything that he did, he had a process. He had a routine. You were talking about a routine. Now, I can have a stretch routine, but if I don't have a great stretch routine, I could have a catch play routine. But if it's not great, if my routine is average, my outcome is average. If my process is average, my outcome is average. So it all comes back to the greatness of your process. So when you watch Royce Lewis play catch, I've been with the area codes for almost 20 years. Guys like Nolan Arenado, Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton, these guys are on our team. Jock Peterson, they're on our team, and you watch them play catch. They're all big leaguers. They're elite big leaguers. Well, let me just tell you, none of those guys were first round, first pick. None of them. And they're all talented. Royce Lewis became the first round, first pick. And it's not about you becoming a first rounder or even the first pick in the first round. It's not about that. It's about you reaching your ceiling. So what he did was, because I watched him every year and I watch all the guys and I noticed, I go, man, there is something different. 15 years ago, what is different about this guy? And when he played catch, he had intent and he had a routine. He played catch better than anybody I've ever seen in the 17 years in the area code. He actually was meticulous. He had intensity, he had consistency, and he had attention to detail to his process, which was great. So he didn't have an average process, because average process equals average outcome. He had his catch play routine was unreal. It was the best I've ever seen. Then he executed it every single day with attention to detail and intensity. So begins with a process, then the process must be great. Then you must execute it daily with intensity and attention to detail. And when you watched Royce, I'm telling you, 70 major leaguers in just the last 7 years in the area codes on our team alone, okay, he played catch better than all of them. There's a different level. If you buy a plane ticket and you want to get on the airplane, well, you have to pay a higher price to get first class. There's a price to be paid. You have to pay the price. And if you don't pay the price, you don't get what you want. I don't roll into the airplane and say, I want first class. No. Did you pay the price? No. Then sit in the back. It's the same with the whole game. Most people don't know how to even pay the price. One, they don't have the self-discipline, and they have so much drama in their life, distractions. Two big leaguers, I asked them, two guys, I said, hey, what is the secret to being in the big leagues? Because they both were little guys. First guy said, avoid drama. I don't like drama, and I always avoided it. All my teammates, all through the minor leagues, college, they're all into drama. Girls, parties, all the stuff. They're all
interested in all the drama, and they get consumed and they conform. Okay, the drama. Royce Lewis, no drama. Okay, put the drama aside.
The other one was a pitcher. He was a 5'9.5" left-handed pitcher. Pitched in the big leagues for 4 years. He said, Nate, it's self-discipline. First guy said, avoid drama. Second guy said, self-discipline. Well, let me tell you something. That's what the problem is. We're caught up with all the drama around us. Royce was so focused on his process every day and executing that process to a T with detail. And you could see it. It was special. And it translated in his progress as a player. He went from good to the best in the world. Number one, first round, $7.1 million. And he was not that guy the year before. Now, when the Minnesota Twins went to watch him, the general manager went to his high school game before the draft. It's right before the draft in June. They want to decide who are they going to pick because they got the first pick in the draft. They fly into Southern California. They get to his game early. It's the general manager and the Southern California scout. And they're sitting there watching him warm up. They're watching him prepare. They're watching his process, literally from start till game time. Before the game started, the general manager had Royce Lewis number 8 on his depth chart. He was not the first pick. He had him 8th. 8th on the depth chart for their first pick. Not first, 8th. He watched him prepare for 2 hours with the team, his spirit, great teammate, great routines with his glove work, with his catch play, with his stretch, seeing his intent, seeing the joy of the game, seeing how he was a leader, picking up the younger players, bringing them with him, saying, hey, let's do some glove work on the side. Just simple things. Before the game started, the general manager said, you know what, John, I don't need to watch the game. John's a scout. He said, John, I don't need to watch the game. I already know who my first pick is. We can literally go home. I don't even need to see him play because his process tells me that he will be in the big leagues in no time. And we know what we're going to get every single day from Royce Lewis. Every day, that's what we're going to get. He doesn't even know we're here. He has no idea I'm in the stands. And he has one of the best process, if not the best process I've ever seen. It's attention to detail. It's having a routine. When you stretch, it matters. You have intent. When you play catch, you have a plan and you execute it to the T. You're an unbelievable teammate. His spirit and love for the game, that's his process. He keeps the team greater than himself. All these components is who he is. It's an internal process, which is about the mental makeup of who you are, the confidence that you bring, the spirit, the joy of the game, the selflessness, all those components, that has to be a part of your process too. You have to have an internal process on who are you going to become and who do you want to be. And then you have to have the external, which is the physical, my catch play, my run routine, my warm-up routine, whatever I'm doing, my swing routine, whatever my routines are, my preparation before the game even comes the whole week before. So you go external, internal, and then you become the master of that process. Now, the beauty is, Trent, is the process is very simple. And people are chasing, what are the big leaguers doing? Watch a big leaguer with his process. Watch him hit. It's very simple. I know you work with big leaguers and you work with big league coaches, right? It's a simple process, but it's the right process. What hitting drills am I actually going to do when I only have 1 hour, 4 days a week? If you're not doing really good hitting drills, you're wasting your time. What are you doing to prepare yourself for that game? And that's your process. And it's very difficult because there's too much information in our world. There's way too much. So I've been in the Dominican the last 15 years. I've been in the area codes the last 15 years, and I've watched and I've learned what most people don't talk about. The body will organize itself when the mind is right. When you're confident and you're trusting your technique, you're trusting yourself, you're selfless, and you're out there playing with spirit and desire. You know what happens? The swing starts to take care of itself, but everybody's trying to do all these artificial moves and trying to play a certain way. The best players in the world, parents, I can assure you, they do less technique than you can only imagine. The best hitters in the world, watch them. You go, wow, that's kind of sloppy. That guy strides with his foot a little closed. That guy doesn't pivot like the guy in the magazine told me. That guy's head drops a little bit, and the other guy's is upright because the guy said my head dropped. I mean, I was watching my nephew's head drops like this, right? And I've had 20 coaches throughout my career say, if your head drops, you can't hit. So I was going, man, maybe I need to fix his head. So the last 2 months, I started watching big leaguers. Half of them drop their head, bury it. But it doesn't matter if the swing works. So you got to know what to spend your time on. And that's very difficult because there's way too much information. So part of the process, what I can assure you is simplicity. Simplicity. If you want to get faster, and I learned this from Cal Ripken Sr., just reading his book about 25 years ago. He said, if you want to have a strong arm, you need to play catch every day and you need to throw far. If you want to run fast, you need to run fast. It's so simple. If you want to have a good glove, what do you need to do? You need to take a lot of ground balls. But how many players are out there taking a lot of ground balls, playing catch every day? Well, the Dominicans are. That's what they do. They don't have this genius training routine. Understand, you don't need to fly over there to find the magic that they have. I'll tell you the magic. The magic is simplicity and daily execution of the main thing. If you want to have a healthy, strong arm, you need to play catch every day, 6 days a week, every day, and have your 2 to 3 long days in there. That's where you start building. That's functional strength. You don't lift weights to have a strong and healthy baseball arm. It doesn't translate like that. Throwing builds the muscles. Yeah, some light muscle work is good, but it's throwing. The Dominicans never did bands. They've never done bands. They just started doing bands. They didn't know what a band was. 7 years ago, there wasn't one band in the whole island. You got guys throwing 98 on the mound with no arm problems. They play catch. It's simple. You want to get fast, go run a hill and run it 3 to 4 days a week and push yourself. And when you get tired, do 2 more. It's not rocket science. And everybody's trying to make this simple game because this game is an art, right, Trent?
Yep.
It's an art. It's not a science. It's an art. And you have to play. You have to paint pictures to become an artist. Right? You have to get out there and paint. You got to get out there and play the game, and you need to do the things that are simple. So Royce's process ended up giving him an opportunity to be the first-round first pick. He signed for more money than anybody in the history of the game. And the guy who went second in that draft was Hunter Green. And he signed for even more money. He signed for 7.3. And I've coached Hunter since he was in going into his 9th grade year, and I watched him with an immaculate process. See, great players literally have a great process that they execute daily. And when we're talking about great processes, so I'm going to break it down a little bit. CPD, BTM. Acronyms are very important. BTM represents body, tools, makeup. So your process has to encompass all three of those areas: body, tools, makeup. Now, we didn't even talk about being a great student, but that's a part of your makeup. Your mental makeup of who you are on the inside is, yeah, being a good son, right? All the components, okay, being a great person. That's a part of your mental makeup. So we're not leaving anything out. Even the day of rest, having a day of rest during the week, not working too hard, is a component to player development. That's a very important piece. So you have your body. How many players are working their body daily with specific goals? Tools, there's 5. Pitchers and hitters, pitchers and position players, there's 5 physical tools. How many guys are working their 5 tools weekly, more than one time, 3 times, at least 2 to 5 times a week? You should be working your 5 physical tools. That's unheard of in America. The other one is very few people are doing all 3 areas. There might be one guy right now, he's getting really strong. He's going, yeah, I'm going to the gym. I'm getting on my, what about your makeup? When's the last time you worked on training your brain, working on building? What are you reading? What are you putting in your mind daily? Do you have quotes? Do you have a process mentally? I have a morning mantra, very simple, but that helps me get on track, get my mind right. So do you have any type of process mentally to build the muscle? And part of building your muscle is when you don't feel like doing something, what do you do? So how dedicated are you right now to getting complete player development? And it's CPD, it's complete player development. So the process encompasses the whole being, from body, tools, makeup. It's your whole lifestyle. And if you're not committed in all those areas to complete player development, what's going to happen is your talent will run out. Your talent will actually run out, because when you meet the guys, like you said earlier, with the talent, whoever is taking better care, body, tools, makeup, complete player development, they'll pass you right by, right? And some guy might say, I work on my tools and my body. Well, when's the last time you worked on your makeup? Your makeup is more important. Your mental makeup is more important than anything. It is the most important. And a part of it is not just mental game. Part of it is the self-discipline, just the disciplines, the pieces of the 6th tool, which self-mastery is the 6 character components of the 6th tool. And I'm going to go through it really quick. So if you're saying, well, okay, well, how do I have an internal process so that I'm getting better mentally? What's my mental process? Well, I'm going to go through it really quick. Okay, so grade yourself in these areas. And if you don't grade well above average, you got no chance. You need to make some serious adjustments right now. So 50 is an average, 20 is the bottom, 80 is the top, 80 is the Hall of Fame number, the greatest number in the game. 80. 50 is average, right? So we start off with self-motivation. The question is when you don't feel like doing something, what do? What do most people do? They don't do it, or they don't do it well. When you don't feel like doing something, you do it great. Okay, so right now, during the day, every day, when you don't feel like doing something, to train your brain, you need to do it great. And when you start doing it great, your muscle, the mental muscle, will be developed daily. I don't feel like washing the dishes. I'm going to do them now. Mom wants me to go mow the lawn. I don't want it, but I'm going to do it. I don't feel like lifting right now, but I'm going to do it. And if you decide about half the time, third of the time, 10% of the time, nah, I'll do it later, I don't want to do it. Well, let me just tell you something. Okay, you got a weak, your brain is weak. Your mental game is weak, and you need to build that muscle daily. Second is self-discipline. When no one's looking, what do? Do you pay attention to detail? Do you do things right? Do you get better? And I'll tell you, a lot of people don't. So you go, man, I need to work on that. When mom's not looking, I got to make sure I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to build that muscle. Okay. Self-discipline. Next one, self-confidence. Work on your confidence every single day through everything you do. Believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing. Train the brain. Have positive self-talk throughout the whole day. Practice that. Next would be self-control. When anything goes wrong throughout the day, every day, multiple things go wrong. How do you respond? Do you have a 12-second bounce back? Very few people. Most people carry stuff with them for 5 minutes, 10 minutes throughout the half the day. They're stressed, they're worried because they can't clear their mind and be present. Practice being present with a 12-second bounce back. This all translates into the game. Then we go to self-awareness. How well do you know your strengths and weaknesses? And how often do you work on your weaknesses daily? Make it a daily process where you're working on an area that you're weak in. And I talked to one of my players recently. He says, I'm not very confident. I said, we're going to work on that. The other one saying, you know, things frustrate me a lot. Okay, I said, well, you need to work on your so what, don't care attitude with a 12-second bounce back every day when something goes wrong, right? And you need to practice it because you will get good at it, but you have to build this muscle. You have to train the brain. Knowing your weaknesses, identifying them, journaling, writing them down, processing it, creating a plan on how I'm going to get better here. And the last one is self-sacrifice. How much are you willing to sacrifice today to receive what you want tomorrow? Very few people are willing to have that long-term focus. It's delayed gratification. Most people are all about the now, today. So those areas right there are training your brain every day. That's the 6 character components of the 6 tool. That's a part of my process. So now it becomes a part of my daily process to become a mental giant daily. And if I work on it, I'm going to get better and stronger. And when you think of these champions, the guys are accomplishing amazing things. They're not just a guy with a nice body or some tools. It's a complete player. It's complete player development, and that needs to be our process daily. So it's really, it takes some work. You got to think about, how am I going to train my brain daily? How am I going to work on my body daily? Where am I going to work on my tools? You could do a lot right in your house, and we're going to help you guys. And we've got our camps coming up and our blue collar workout stuff. All that is all about the complete player development. So that's some insight. That's some info.
My head is about to explode in a good way from just amazing information. And I want to remind our audience that this video is being recorded live. So you can go back and you can watch it. You can pause, you can take notes, you can ask questions, and Nate and I will do our best to go back in after the show is over. So if you're posing questions right now and we're not getting to them, it's hard to get to them. We'll go back in afterwards and do our best. I know I did last week, and Nate did some too. Just absolutely beautiful stuff. I mean, it's like I don't even really know where to go because I want to say so much. And I'm just thinking about champions and the difference that they exhibit in their process is the intent in their process, Nate, the self-awareness in the process. So like you and I were talking about Tabor yesterday, and Tabor put together a secondary plan. He had a plan that he created to work on in the summer. And of course, the virus is impacting that to a degree. He modified that, but then he went back and he just created another plan, an A-B plan, because he was trying to do too much every day. Most people aren't doing enough. I felt like he was doing too much. But then you and I started talking, and it started to make sense. Like a lot of people, even professional baseball players, their process demonstrates more of a maintenance to where they're at with their skills. Like they really don't self-analyze and say, okay, where are my deficits as a player? If I'm going to be the best of the best, if I'm going to beat out Mike Trout, okay, what do I have? Where does my game have to be? What are my weaknesses? And then how do I address them? So we started talking about the offensive side. So the process, the plan, creating the plan. So Tabor went, and since our conversation, he has modified, and he's taken out a little of his T work, and he's added in a lot more hack attack, which he already does, but more with off speed. So this isn't about Tabor, but I'm trying to use him as a Division I player and a guy who wants to play at the next level after college, and showing that he has an unbelievable process. I mean, he lifts his weights on his own. I don't have to write the process, the plan for him. He does that on his own. He evaluates, what is the most important thing, what is, and he tries to create that plan around that. But even doing that, he wasn't, really pushing himself enough at the highest level that's going to give him the most struggles. And that is hitting elite level pitching off a hack attack. Now we have access to one. Not everybody has one, but I just, can you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I'd like to go into that. And so basically Tabor's.
We lost you. There you are.
Yeah, back. So Tabor is Trent's son, just for some people that don't know. And he's a Division I scholarship shortstop. So it all really begins with working backwards. It's what are you working for? And what boxers do is they train the date. They're training for a date. So they know the date, then they work backwards. So they decide, what am I training for? And then they say, what is it going to take to get the result that I want on that date? So the question really is what specifically do you want to be said about you on that date? Do you want, so does the boxer want the ESPN to say this was one of the best defeats in the history of boxing, that this low-ranking guy beat the champion? What do you want to be said about you? This guy's got a great uppercut. He's tireless. You have to be specific. What do you want to be said? So basically, you go, what do I want? When do I want it by? And what do I want to be said about me? And when you're talking about baseball, it's complete player. We're looking at the whole player, guys. We're not looking at one tool. What do you want to be said about all 5 tools? Then what do you want to be said about your mental makeup and your body? Body, tools, makeup. Now you need to be specific. Yeah, he's a nice infielder. What does that mean? There's a lot of nice infielders. His backhand is off the chart. His exchange is plus plus. His arm is accurate with velocity. You need to go through each area, and we call that basically the law of unintended consequences, which means this: whatever you leave unintended goes unintended. And if you leave something unintended, it will soon diminish and decline. The longer the time, the greater the decline. So if I'm not working on my backhand, if I'm not working on all my specific areas that I want to be showcased well on that date, if Tabor's getting ready for the next draft date, if that's his date and he knows he has an all-star game in college that he's going to be playing in, he needs to know exactly what he wants to show. What is his home to first going to be? What is his first to second time going to be? What is his velocity across the diamond going to be? What does my body want to be? How do I want to carry myself? All these pieces have to be painted. You have to paint the picture. Once you paint the picture, and when the date is, because you have to train a date. You train the date and you have a picture. So if I'm a 12-year-old, what are you preparing for? You might say, I'm going to get ready, Dad, for the next USA NTIS tryout they have in San Diego on September 15th. And you go, okay, it doesn't matter what it is. So the 12-year-old is going, Dad, we have 4 months. Then you time them, what you run, you go through the 5 tools. And you say, let's measure it. And then how are we going to get it better? Right? And what do we want to showcase on that date? And you know what happens to the player? He is so excited to get out of bed because he's training with a purpose and he's excited to get better because he knows what he's working for and he knows what he wants. Tabor wants to get drafted. And when you keep putting that carrot in front of him and he keeps thinking about what am I training for, you know what happens? Their motivation's a whole nother level. So we have to do a great job because no one will execute a process. Why does no one execute their diets? I'm going to throw out a number that I don't know, but I'm going to say 98% of people that start diets don't finish them within 6 months. I would venture to say it's pretty close to that. The blue collar workout, any of the videos that we've sent out that people have purchased within a week, 98% of them are not doing it anymore. And if they are, they're not doing it with consistency, intensity, and attention to detail. It's ICAD. That's what you have a process, then you have to ICAD. It's attention to detail. It's consistency. It's intensity. You have to. And that's your consistency to the process one day at a time. So we go, boom, back to working backwards. What do I want? What do I want to showcase? And you have to be specific. So I'll give you an example working with my nephew. Base running. What do we want? What do we want to be said at the next area code games? The Perfect Game National. What do you want to be saying? Because those are the 2 events he's working for. His goal is to be drafted in the top 3 rounds, if not the top first round. That's the goal. So he knows his run tool. We timed his run tool yesterday, home to first. He was a 4.1. The average major league runner, above average run. The best times in the major league right now is a 4.0. Those are the best. Cody Bellinger's like a 3.97 on average, but all the best runners are Trey Turner, all of them, they're about 4.0. Okay, so right now we go, okay, you are right with some of the best runners in the world. Okay, that's pretty much taking care of itself. You're still going to work on your run tool. Okay, let's now work on your 60 time. What's your 60 time? Okay, then we're going on, okay, what kind of hitter do you want to represent yourself as? He's not a power guy. He doesn't need great exit speed, doesn't need launch angle. He needs to be able to hit to all fields and square balls up and be the toughest out, very few swing and misses, and be great with 2 strikes. See, we paint the picture of what we're trying to create. Then each day our process actually aligns with what we're trying to accomplish specifically in each area. We're not just in the cage hitting. You know what that will lead to? Nothing. He might get to college. After college, he'll be done. Okay, you have to build for something specific. You look at your son, you go, I'm 6'3", he's going to be 6'3", a little heavy-footed, probably going to be a third baseman. You need to realize that, you know what? He needs to be really strong. He needs to have a plus arm. He needs to have great angles back on balls. He needs to be great on coming and getting slow rollers. He needs to have arm strength. He needs to have power. He needs to be able to hit to right center because he's rarely ever going to see a fastball. So you create this process within what the vision is. and you have to be creative. And if you don't know, you need to find professionals and say, what do we need to do? Because my kid right now, we don't know what to work on. But the beauty of it is work on athleticism, be an athlete, work on athleticism in general, flexibility, body strength, movement, agility, right? If you just work on that in the younger ages, even soccer, basketball, all these, right? My nephew played basketball and soccer, great feet, good hands, great endurance, stamina, quickness, right? Toughness, bounce back, because basketball, you have to have bounce back. And then he started to weed his way out as he started to realize that baseball was really going to give him an opportunity. So it's the athleticism early on, the athleticism, the toughness, you know, all the stuff they're going to learn from playing different sports, the mental makeup. So you got to work backwards, and you have to be very specific. You can't just say, I want to be a good hitter. What kind of hitter do you want to develop into? And then, you know, are you going to see, I mean, so it's very specific, Trent, very, very specific. And I was telling Trent basically when Tabor showed me the workout routine, I just said, Trent, this is good, but this is a maintenance program. To me, this is a maintenance program, and he needs to get better. Because if he plans on playing in the big leagues, if he's maintaining what he is right now, he's going to get drafted, but he'll probably stay in A-ball for a couple of years like most guys, and he'll be done. He's like, man, you have to, what's the most important, we'll ask you parents and players, what is the number one tool? So I work with my nephew all the time. Okay, I work with players all the time. We got all these players. What is the number one tool? There's two main tools that every player needs to have. So I'm going to ask you just write it down right now. Think about it and write it down. And then we'll address those in a couple minutes. Probably I'll do it in like 20 seconds. So we'll start with the first tool. Okay, the first tool is the 6 tool. If you don't grade extremely high in the 6 tool, you have no chance. You have no chance at all. I was sitting at a table with all minor leaguers. I interviewed them all. None of them got to the big leagues. I said, let me just grade your 6 tool right now, but you grade it with my question. I'll give you the question, you grade yourself. They all graded themselves. I go, in 2 of the 5 areas, because the 5 mental makeup components, I didn't do the 6 character, which was the self-motivation, self-discipline, self-control, self-confidence. I didn't do those ones, self-awareness, self-sacrifice. I went through the 5 mental makeup components of between the lines, the grinder, the dirtbag, the bulldog, the rock, and the rat. I went through those. Every single guy was deficient in 2 of the 5 areas. They told me, man, you know, the rat, I didn't really work very hard. The other guy saying, the rock, man, I didn't have a good bounce back. I was always frustrated playing baseball. The other guy, I wasn't the bulldog. Okay, these are minor leaguers with plus tools. One was a 3rd rounder, one was a 12th rounder. Okay, but when you go through their mental makeup, I could have told you guys before you signed that you would have never got to the big leagues. And if you did, you maybe would have played 1 game, because your mental makeup will determine the grinder, your focus, the dirtbag, your intensity and energy and love for the game, the bulldog, your confidence, the rock, your ability to bounce back within 1 pitch, 12 seconds, and the rat. Nobody out prepares you, Royce Lewis. Nobody out prepares you day in and day out. And they identify to themselves. So if we would have got them when they're 12, Trent, we would have said, hey guys, let's be real with where you're at right now. What is your focus level on the field? What is your energy and intensity? Let's actually focus the self-awareness. Okay, you lack confidence. You don't like to work hard. You don't have energy, and you lack focus. Okay, let's create a menu for you. So I have 2 nephews. One says he wants to work on confidence. The other one wants to work on another area. So what do you think I'm working on with the one? Every day we're talking about confident quotes, is giving him stories about confidence, right? Randy Johnson had no confidence. He had no confidence. And Nolan Ryan changed his perspective, and boom, here comes confidence. Domination of the game. Giving him stories like that, he's going, really? Yeah, you just have to change your perspective. Talking about Oral Hershiser, no confidence. The most dominant pitcher maybe in the last 30 years. Oral Hershiser, domination. He had no confidence. But he changed his identity. I am a bulldog. Tommy called him the bulldog. He started believing he's a bulldog when he took the mound. All he did was change who he wanted to become in his identity of himself. So you identify, and that's what the process has to be. We can't just throw the same process. Everybody launch angle, everybody hit home runs. No, everybody doesn't need exit speed. Everybody doesn't have to be a plus runner. Find what you want to become, like Tabor. Okay, Tabor, he wants to be a major league infielder. He'll probably in the big leagues probably play second base, I would assume. He might play shortstop. You know better than me, but he might be a shortstop. Let's just say he's a second baseman, like a Colton Wong style. Let's just say an Altuve. It's kind of like his size, right? Okay, well, what do those guys bring to the table? They run, they steal bases, they're plus defenders, and they're tough at bats, right? Well, Tabor should be focusing on, because what they're going to do is they're going to say, Tabor, you remind me of Altuve. You remind me of Colton Wong. You're going to get remembered as someone in the game, and those guys are going to find their way out because they're getting old, and they're looking for role players to come in. So you have to try to build an identity of who you want to become. And that's a great part of your process. But understanding the self-awareness is everything. And that's why we have to dig deep and be real with our players. And that's why the 6 tool is beautiful, because if you just go through these 10 laws, and we're going to make them available very soon, the 10 laws, you can go through them and it'll literally feel like someone's stabbing you, because you're going to go, man, I grade low there, I grade low there, I grade high here, low, 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 average. And let me just tell you, if you grade low in the 10 areas and anywhere, if you're average at best, you probably are going to fizzle out really fast. And I'll give you the law of unintended consequences. If you leave things unintended, whatever is left unintended in your game, especially right now, this is a time of development. You got nothing but time. Whatever you leave unintended, let me just tell you, if you haven't been hitting curveballs, you haven't been working on balls in the outer part of the plate, you haven't been working on fastballs in, if you haven't been working on 95, you haven't been working on the guys that throw slow at 78, you have to mix up your practice and have an unbelievable process so that when you get between the lines, the game is actually easier than your practice. We want to practice harder than the game. And that's having a great process and knowing who are you developing into. And just to simplify, because there are a lot of parents with young kids, your son should become an athlete. They need to hit line drives, build the arm strength, build the run tool, build the flexibility, build the agility. And you can do all of it at home with a jump rope, spring the hill behind your house, doing some hops over some hurdles, doing some side-to-side work. We have it all in the blue collar. The blue collar workout that we have, it's not rocket science. You don't have to have $5,000 a month to have, 3 different pro trainers. You really don't. And let me tell you, from the hit tool side, I'll tell you, go hit beans, go hit wiffle balls, go hit caps, have some fun, try to strike them out, make it tough, build speed into the at-bats where they have to find efficiency and quickness. The body will organize itself. You know what happens? They learn how to hit, because this is an art. This is not a science. Okay. And understand that. It's really important. Thank you, Brian Mitchell. This is an art, not a science. And stop making it a science, because when you do, you know what happens? You micromanage everything that doesn't need to be micromanaged. And when you micromanage everything that doesn't need to be micromanaged, the body will not sequence because you get in the way. The mind gets in the way of the body doing its thing. So, yeah.
It's truly, like, this is off the charts stuff. And it really should become evident to the listeners, okay, that you can begin to see why there are so few champions, because you have to be willing to be different, the road less traveled, okay, to be able to think right, develop your tools. I mean, I was thinking back to our conversation and what you were saying about Tabor, and he didn't get his feelings hurt. Like, he was listening to the conversation. I had you on speakerphone. And he heard, and he said, you know what? He's right. He said, Nate's right. I got to make an adjustment there. And he had spent so much time creating this plan and thinking it through. He could have got all bent out of shape. Like, I spent 3 hours creating that plan. Now I got to go back and fix it. It wasn't that way at all. It was like, you know what? He's right. So what's the lesson there? The lesson is to learn from others. So you got Nate sharing this, this journey, what's required to have a championship process. Okay. I think of high school players all the time. Those of you that, I think of youth players all the time. It's cool. I'm going to make a tweet, about process. I'm going to, show a little video on Instagram and talk about my process, and I'm a grinder, and all this stuff. Well, really? Are you? I mean, what are you doing? What is your process? And is your process really just a fraction above what your coach is asking you to do? Is your process the same few T drills every day and you leave? I can't tell you how many guys think that working on their process is coming in and hitting off a tee for 45 minutes and then leaving, and then they think they were grinding. I mean, I'm not knocking tee work. I'm not knocking people that want to work, but let's work smart, and let's work on things that are truly going to take our game to the next level, improve our skill, improve our mind, mind, body. Let's improve it. And part of our jobs as coaches and parents is to educate our children on what a real process looks like. Now, you can't overwhelm a 7-8-year-old, but you can start to create strategies based on their dreams and aspirations, where they want to go. We talked a little bit about this last week, right, Nate? So, I mean, I think it's important to try to get players to create their own plans, help them, guide them, show them. I mean, they got to get to a point. I know Jabin, your nephews, they have their plan. Tabor, he has his plan and he literally executes it whether I'm around or not. Okay. That's the sign of maturity. And not everybody's going to do that. It's a process to get there as a player. But, my mind is spinning with so many things. And by the way, those of you online, we're going to offer you a discount code here in a little bit. So if you'll hang with us, I'm going to share that with you. But Nate has been killing it tonight. I mean, literally killing it. And this is one of the reasons why I learned so much, even by talking to him, because nobody shares this information. Nobody. I never heard of anything. I heard about makeup and I heard about character. And a lot of times people were combining them into like the same thing, and we all know that there's a lot of characteristics that are important: hard work, dedication, honesty, commitment, all these things, but they've never been defined like Nate can define them. And they got to be worked on. They got to be developed, just like the physical 5 tools have to be developed. And so, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. The process of a champion. I mean, I think of the Derek Jeter story a little bit, Nate, right? I mean, a guy that wanted to be great and was struggling so hard in the beginning of his minor league career, a lot like Chipper. And he was seeking a process. In high school, he didn't have to have a process. He was an elite athlete. It really didn't matter. I'm not saying that he didn't care. He cared and he tried and he was very good. But then he got to the next level and it's like he hit this roadblock where that wasn't good enough anymore. So what do? Do you pack it in? The pressure's on. He's a first round pick. He's got all this money. People are, they're making comments and he finds a coach that is willing to share with him a detailed process to work on his defense. And Jeter goes to work on developing a routine with an infield coach. And they start to create and work on things that matter and creating consistency in his movements and, in his work. And all of a sudden, he goes from a well below average professional defender who's about to be sent to center field or the outfield to a very, very good, to a Hall of Fame, player as an infielder. And we talk about Jeter, not just his physical skills, because, a lot of people say there's better shortstops than he was, and maybe so, but no better leader, no better clutch player. I take him every day. But that's not the point. The point of the whole thing is, here's a guy coming into pro ball who hits a roadblock and he's got to make a choice, and he makes the right choice. And that is to start working on things that matter. So, I want to give you a chance, because we're at the 1 hour mark, to either expand on that or share another story or build on what you've already said. And then we'll finish up.
Okay. Thank you, Trent. And that's an awesome story. And I think what happens though, typically, so guys understand this, Jeter was able to make it through with an average at best process in high school. He didn't have a great process. And like Trent said, he started to build it in the minor leagues. But let me just tell you, if you're not a first rounder, you're probably not going to be playing baseball anymore. The only reason why they gave him those 5 weeks to work on his defense because he's a first rounder. If you're a 5th rounder, a 7th rounder, a 23rd, you know what happens? You're cut. You're done. Your career is over. So the time is now. The time isn't next week. The time is today, plus today, plus today, plus today, plus today. And that's how you create your future. You create your future by having a masterful process, one day at a time. It begins with a plan. You have to have a plan. Tabor had a plan, but Tabor's plan was better than most. It was better than most, but was not good enough. I said, Trent, that plan will get him to AA. He wants to be a big leaguer. He has to beat out guys in the big leagues right now. He's not getting there with that plan. That's a decent plan. And it's better than 90, 95, if not more people in the country. Most people don't have anything written down, and his plan is really good. So Jeter, yeah, but most people aren't going to get that opportunity. And Jeter took those 5 weeks to work on his defense, and he took it to another level, which was pretty incredible. But think about what he did, guys. It's concentrated learning. He focused on one area of his game for 5 weeks. He wasn't hitting. He wasn't base running. He focused on one tool. And what happens is when you concentrate your focus in one area, you'll take it from a C to a B to an A, and then you go right back to getting all your other tools, and they didn't go anywhere. They just pretty much maintained because you already got them, and then you start building on them. You have to focus on your areas of weakness, and it has to be a concentrated time. Right now, this is the time. You have maybe another 2 weeks, another month, another 2 months where you can focus. There's no games going on. It's focus. I want to work on my backhand for an hour and a half, an hour and a half every day, and I'm going to do that for the next 30 days. What's going to happen to your backhand when the 30 days are over? That will be your new routine play, the backhand. It'll become your new normal because you've made it normal. You've become comfortable because of your familiarity with it every single day. The Dominicans, what they do, their process is very simple, and I learned a lot from them. I've been in the Dominican for over 15 years. We have an academy there now. What the Dominicans do much better than the Americans is they train tools every day. They're not as good at the body. They're better at tool development than anybody in the world. Tools. They haven't been real big on eating weights. Like, you know, we're more inclined with that here. I'm not saying they're starting to lift weights more. There are academies lifting weights, but you know, that hasn't been a big push over there. It was tools, right? They train the 5 tools throughout the week, every week, from the age of about 10 to the age of about 16. And they go run tool, hit tool, field tool, hit for power, throw tool. They're working them daily. They're not going to obviously do the run tool every day. They're going to do it like every other day, but they're going to mix it in. They play catch every day. And what happens is their tools continue because they have a plan. That is their process. It's 5 tool development. So when you're creating your plan, yes, body, yes, tools, 5 tools, mental makeup. That has to be a part of your process. And it's a daily, today plus today plus today. You add it all up. Now, when you leave days off, you know what happens? You don't have a great process because a part of your process is self-discipline and self-motivation. I'm going to end with this right here, Trent. Wayne Rainey was 4-time world champion, Supercross. He actually, Supercross is the dirt guys. He was Formula One is what, cars, and he was the guys on those motorcycles that go like 250, 250. I mean, unbelievable speeds. 4-time world champion. I trained his son. I said, Wayne, what makes you a world champion? And not only a world champion, you're maybe the greatest racer in the history of motorcycle racing. And he said, Nate, I pay attention to details. He says, if I weighed 157 pounds, my best weight, race weight is 155. I knew it. I knew my body. I knew everything about myself. My self-awareness was off the charts because I paid attention. I paid attention to details. Your job is to pay attention to details because if you don't, someone else is and he's going to pass you up. Pay attention to details. He said, if someone moved my grips just 2 millimeters, my mechanic, he said, I knew it because I knew exactly where I wanted my grips to be. He knew himself inside and out, and he paid attention to detail daily. Pay attention. That process needs to be a detailed plan. Break it down. You're not going to be perfect with it. You're going to struggle with it like everybody does with a diet, but you need to work on getting better one day at a time. Make it your daily process.
You know what I love?
Closing,
go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Please.
No, all I was going to add on was about the Dominican, you know, like they make a way, you know, they don't make excuses. They find a way. So like, you know, when they're working on their tools, you know, they don't have to have the best equipment. They don't have to have the best facilities. I think a lot of people understand that about the Dominican, but we don't in America. A lot of players feel like if they don't have a field or a batting cage or batting tees, that they can't get work in, and that's not true. So, you know, I do love their commitment to getting work done no matter what. You know, if it's a cardboard glove that they make, or you know, to field with, or no glove at all. But go ahead and finish that last point that I cut you off on. I apologize.
Okay, thank you, Trent. I was just going to say we've developed a new membership called the 6-Tool Nation, and basically we have a 5-tool training calendar in it. It holds you accountable through the whole month, and you basically gives you a whole system on how to train your 5 tools. And we don't tell you what to do in the calendar. It's basically a calendar. You train for a date. So you have 3 specific dates you put throughout the year on your calendar. You say, this is my next train date. Then each week you plug in which tools you're going to work each day. So you say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to go run tool. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Monday, I'm going to do my throw tool. So you just plug in, then you create your little map. So what happens is you hold yourself accountable to 5-tool development. Then you have your weight days on the bottom. You click in, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, I'm going to do my weights, and I'm going to do upper body on this day. Then I'm going to, kind of do my throwing on the other days because I want to go long toss on these days. I'm going to work my upper. So it's basically, it's the most simplistic, organized calendar, and it's incredible. And when you talk about not getting confused, it's very simple. It's just boom, right there. It's a Google Drive. You just go, okay, week 1 of this month of June, what am I going to do? I'm going to go run tool on these days this week, throw tool, hit tool, field tool, hit for power tool. These days I'm going to do my lower body strength work, upper body strength work. You just plug it in. You just go dot, 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 dot. You can literally plan your week in like 1 minute. And then you create your plan. Okay, Dad, we're going to do, today's our run tool day, our long toss day, and our defensive field tool day. So then you go out and you just put together a creative plan and you get your work in. Remember, we said simplicity is king. Making it as game-like as possible, breaking things down, paying attention to detail. So that's a piece we'll be offering here down the road. It's becoming a member of the 6-Tool Nation, and there's recruiting pieces to it as well. There's some really cool other pieces to it, but it's that's one of the pieces to it.
Awesome. So like I told the audience, you guys that have hung in here, it's been worth it. Well, to me it has. I hope it has to you. I continue to learn, and the thing that hits me all the time is I can't just hear it once. I can't just write it down once. The more I hear it, the more I digest it. And, and again, Nate and I have been in the game for a long time. And so if you're new to the game, a lot of this stuff might seem foreign or almost like overwhelm you. You have to just, stick with it, hang in there, and write things down and continue to learn. But we told you guys that we would give you a deal. So right now I'm going to give you a deal for the next 15 minutes only. Okay. So it's going to be 30% off either the Infield Mastery course number 2 or the virtual camp series. You get to choose. Okay. If you go on TroskyRanch.com and go to, again, either the Infield Mastery course 2 or the virtual camp series that we're about to do, that Nate and I are going to put on. Okay. You can use the promo code Trosky Tuesday 519, no spaces. Okay, it can be all lowercase, Trosky, Trosky, Tuesday, Tuesday 519, all together, no spaces at checkout, and you'll get your 30% off. So, that's for hanging in there to the very end of this particular Trosky Tuesday. If we did not hit on something that you want us to hit on, we're going to go back through the notes. This is going to be posted on the Trosky Baseball Facebook page, so you can find it anytime, and you literally can make comments even after we're done with the live recording. And then, as I say, we'll go in and try to address as best we can, with the time that we have. Obviously, there's a lot of detail that was shared tonight. So, Nate, do you ready to close, or you got?
Can we give them an hour on that? So people have time to actually. Or maybe
you're the man. A couple hours. All right, you're the man.
Let's give them till like 10 o'clock because people might need to have dinner and they might need to go somewhere. Okay. So I'd say till midnight. Why don't we just do it till midnight?
Sure.
Till midnight, and that includes the virtual camp coming up too. The virtual camp that we're going to be doing starting on the 27th. It's 1 camp a week for 3 weeks, and you could just do one of the camps if you choose to, or 2 of them, or 3 of them. The discount's also for the camp, and it's also for the blue collar workout. That's a daily workout doing all 5 tools. And then we have also just a footwork series. It's just about footwork only, and for infield footwork mastery. So just keep that in mind. Start your process today. And the process begins with having a plan, putting it in a calendar, and being very specific. It all begins with working backwards. You go all the way to the end of what you're working for. Plan a date, what date, and what do you want to be seen on that? What do you want to be said? And I had both my nephews pick the date. We did this last week. What date are you training for? My one nephew is going to be a Division I scholarship right-handed pitcher that's going to a Division I school here in California. I said, what do you want your coach to say about you after the second day of practice? And he has to go through everything from body, all 5 tools, and his makeup. And then he's going to articulate, he's painting the picture, what he wants his coach to say about him, all of his coaches and his teammates. And then I'm going to read it. I'm going to help him paint this picture. So we have details, because the body seeks to accomplish what the mind thinks in pictures. Whatever you're thinking and picturing, that's why we paint the picture prior, and then we try to, we paint it, and then we align our lives to making that picture happen. And your body actually will do everything it can in its power to make it happen, because you have a picture, you have clarity, you have a vision, you have purpose. So we paint that picture. So Jabin's preparing for the Perfect Game National. He knows every tool that he wants, every number that he wants to be said, from his 60 to his exit speed, to his throwing velocity, to his body. He wants people to say, man, this guy's a middle infielder. He's strong, he's physical, he's athletic, he's got great foot speed. He just lifts. We just lift it, boom. And then you say, okay, the process. Now we need to work for those each day, and that date's your motivation date. So understand that it just doesn't happen. A great process follows great goals, and the goals have to be specific. So get those goals lined up right now, tonight, tomorrow. Start thinking about them. Be creative, and don't limit yourself to saying, I don't know if I could do that. Aim high, aim high, aim small, aim high, and let it happen. Okay. And everything doesn't happen perfect the first time around. You're just building this process, and you're building. So have a great journey. Have a great time. And Trent and I are here to help you guys. And so we will, get some answers to your questions too. Thank you for being on. I don't know if Brian was Brian trying to do anything else, or are we good?
No, we're good. I just think, I just want players. I'm going to say this, Nate, in closing, unless I just think that you can't be denied. You can't be denied. I mean, you want something bad enough, you go get it. And that there's a lot of that's said a lot, but the true mentality of finding the motivation, whether you like Michael Jordan or not, if you watch his special, at finding motivation, things that made him want to win more, even if he had to make it up in his own mind, like imaginary battles or whatever. Everybody's different, but don't be denied. Put in the work, create the plan, put in the work, and make it happen. I'm going to go back tonight, Nate, myself, and literally go back through this and take some notes. It was unbelievable. You rolled off about 15 minutes worth of gold that every single parent and coach and player needs to have in their brain. So thank you for your time again. We'll see everybody next Tuesday. That promo code was, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you, Trent.
See you, buddy. Take care.
Great
Nate.
job, Trent.
All right,
Thank you.